dope music is dope music. It doesn't matter, So anything that kind of elevates that, the stuff that I like, and the stuff that I kind of grew up on, and the stuff I want to contribute to that, like, I'm happy. I'm super happy when Beyonce did it.
We were making house music way before that, right? We weren't even thinking about what could happen. Oh, one day Beyonce will make, you know what I mean? It was just not even a thought.
You may not know their name yet, but you've certainly danced one of their tracks in recent years. They've made a string of collaboration from Kendrick Lamar to Beyonce, Mark Ronson, Rick Ross, Q-Tip, imposing their soulful disco vibe in the zeitgeist. They decided to perform as a duet for the debut album Been Here Before, bringing a breath of fresh air to the dance floor scene. Songwriter, performer, and Grammy Awards winner Cor.Ece and super talented producer Bad Colours are my guests today. I'm Diane. Welcome to my LA Chronicles.
Maybe I should move to LA. I'm thinking maybe I should move to LA.
Such a pleasure to meet you guys.
What's up? Thank you for having us. Yeah. So excited to be here.
From the moment I discovered your music from overseas, I was wondering, what was your respective backgrounds?
Music's always been part of my journey. I was very just a fan of music in general. And as a kid, I had a close friend growing up who his older brothers were in like the hardcore punk scene. So their basement was just full of instruments all the time. So the first time I picked up drumsticks, I could do like a straight 8, and my friend was like, you have something, you should push this. So we signed up for bands, and we just kind of went through that whole journey. And when I signed up for band, I went from the high school I went to has a really competitive music program. Like they go up and down the East Coast, they run every day. And within a semester, I signed up for the beginning band. He moved me to the top band in a semester.
Wow.
And he was just like, you have something, I believe in you, and just really put the battery in my back. So I was like, all right, I can't let this guy down now. I got to really focus on this. So that was my high school journey. I was doing marching band stuff, whatever it was, orchestra, symphonic. My senior year, I got to choir, so I got to learn about singing too. So yeah, it's just, I had a lot of people just pushing me, being like, you got it, when I was unsure. Yeah, so I ended up here, and then I went to college for a year. It didn't really work out. The music program wasn't as competitive as I was used to being pushed. So I was like, all right, if I had this background, I was like, I'm gonna move to New York. My brothers and sisters live in New York. I'll figure it out. So I went to school for college for a year. Didn't work out. Moved up to New York. Sold my car. Sold everything I had. Just figured it out.
I was gonna say, yeah, you figured it out.
Yeah.
And what about your history, Cor.Ece?
Yeah, my history is similar, but not exactly straightforward. Very much musical foundation as well. As a kid, writing is my first love. And I won my first writing contest in the second grade. And so words have always meant a lot to me, but as well as music. I was the kind of kid, I had my own keyboard, so I would sit in the room and just write songs and just play, and so I think that's why I'm so good with melodies and so good with just sort of harmonies and chords, because that. And then also, funny thing, my uncles were doo-wop singers, and there was one summer I got in trouble, and so I was forced to stay at my grandmother's house with my uncles. And instead of being able to go out to play, I had to learn the parts of the harmony that my voice fit in with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my punishment. And so but secretly I loved it and really grateful for it. And so I think for me, it just sort of went along the way. Eventually in high school, I was in a band, and I used to play guitar, and we were kind of like a rock soul band. And I went on to actually, my sort of music stuff got really serious, and I'm just one of those people that I really like to take my time, and I like for my art to make sense for me. And even though I couldn't articulate it that way at that age, I knew. And so I decided to put music down, and I went to film school, actually.
Okay.
And I did that for a long time and worked in the film business and had my own company for a little bit. And then I got to a point working in Hollywood and that side of entertainment where I really miss music.
Mm-hmm.
Went back, actually, I hit up my friend Dave Giles back in Brooklyn. I was in LA, and I was like, hey, coming back, and I'm only working on music. And really the moment I decided, I made the declaration to the universe and to myself that was what I was going to do, everything was so easy from there. My career started the moment my professional career in music started the moment I decided to do that. Like 2 weeks later, had my first show.
Wow.
You know, so and then so on and so forth, and like a few months later, ran into a producer, album, this Defector Records, and it just sort of like hasn't really stopped since then.
You choose the right place to fit in. That was your place in the world.
Yeah.
And you end up co-writing the track "Cozy" for Beyonce with
Yeah.
Dave Gills, for which you won a Grammy. How did it happen?
It happened just by doing my thing, honestly. Just, I think
I understand, but maybe for the young people watching us and interesting, how does that work in the industry? How does
Right.
that work?
Well, I mean, I think it's two ways, right? Like I want to sort of stick to the original point just by really doing my thing and being myself. There was never a point of me chasing after any of these placements or any of these things in the music industry. I think that that's a fool's journey. I mean, you can, but it really is just about like I was making music and I thought it was for me actually. I sort of wrote on a record and I was like, oh yeah, I really want to be on this, and I just wrote from my heart and it felt really good, and secretly they were using it for something else. And so I would say,
So it was not originally for Beyonce, the track.
well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I thought it was
Okay.
for me. You know what I'm
Ah,
saying?
okay, I
Like
got
in
you.
my mind, that's all I was writing for. That's all I was thinking about. And I think all of us who were on record prior to knowing, that's all we were thinking about. So I think it's really important to just be yourself and do what you love, and then get with the right crew, right? Like it was that, but then also me happening to be with Dijon, Luke Solomon, Chris Penny, Dave Giles. So it's just kind of like having the right tribe, the right team with you is also
Yes.
important just the same.
Yes, to be curious a little bit more about it, I was just wondering, okay, Beyonce, as any big pop star, would, take a gender of the moment, like Madonna has done by the past also, using trip hop, using hip hop at a certain point. So she incorporate house music, which she never did before, So it was interesting to know, was it coming from her to decide to do that kind of color of sound, and then she went to the people who had the talent to create those kind of music,
Yeah.
this kind of music, or it was that I was wondering how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, she's spoken about it, right? Like publicly in terms of what, she had a feeling, there's something that she wanted to do, and she, called upon the right people to do that, right? The people who were within that culture. And I think that, for me, house music is something that has always been a part of my life. I was sneaking in gay bars as a teenager, and, and it was just always there, even when I didn't realize that it was there. You know what I mean? It was just music at the time. And then that, came before me, but it was just the same club I went to every weekend, it was there. So I think it was just kind of like bringing in people from the culture to make it authentic.
Ibe, would you say that album Renaissance helped your music style get more exposure?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, her doing that album, like Drake doing that album, like, that puts it on a way bigger platform that a lot of people, especially like in our culture as Black people, like are not up on that stuff, And it's like, I grew up in Maryland. I went to school in Baltimore for a little bit, so like Baltimore club music was like a big thing when I was in college. And also like I was born in the UK, so I've always kept in touch with like house music in general, and
Mhm.
just the idea of, like Black people can rhyme on like a grime beat, rhyme on a garage beat, and no one looks at them crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like that over here, where
Mhm.
it's like if 10 years ago, like 50 Cent jumped on like a garage beat, he'd be like, oh, 50 going Euro, 50, like, it's a completely weird thing where it could be like the hardest dude from the UK scene could do it, and no one even bats an eye. It's just dope music is dope music. It doesn't matter, So anything that kind of elevates that, the stuff that I like, and the stuff that I kind of grew up on, and the stuff I want to contribute to that, like I'm happy. I'm super happy when Beyonce did it. Super happy that this guy got on it.
Yeah.
Like that just dope. It just puts another idea into kids' heads about what kind of music. You don't have to. You're Black in the ghetto. You don't have to just make rap music.
Exactly.
We were making house music way before that, right? We weren't even thinking about what could happen. Oh, one day Beyonce will make, you know what I mean? It was just not even a thought.
Of
So
course.
I feel really grateful and lucky that the thing that I love and the thing that I was making happens to be really in the zeitgeist and in the forefront of people's minds now. I just think it really just brought it back to the front.
For sure.
As I mentioned in my intro, you both worked with very well-known artists coming from totally different genres of music, from hip-hop to funk to house music. That's very rare indeed. Did those collaborations nourish your current style or the opposites?
Oh, I mean, definitely plays a part. I feel like at least personally, because I'm on the production side, I feel like I take a little piece of everyone I work with, and like I keep all those things in my head. Like whether if it's even just like a recording technique or just the way they just do harmonies and stuff. Like I was lucky enough to do 2 songs with Faith Evans, and just the way she does vocals is just insane. It's completely insane. It's like she has this bridge between R&B and gospel that like very few people have. It's like for her, it's just like breathing. It's just so natural,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I definitely took some stuff from that. It's just I'm lucky enough to be around such great artists who somehow like my stuff, and I just try to take a piece. So it definitely nurtured it, brought me to where I am now for sure, 100%.
You agree?
I think my journey is a little bit inverted in the sense that because I write with a lot more people now, I think people, yes, I gain a lot from other people for sure. That's just by osmosis. But I will also say that like people kind of take pieces of me in different ways, and um and that's okay because I'm there's a lot of me, right? I'm a whole solid artist, and that's the point of writing and sharing your gifts with other people. But I had already been doing a lot of this stuff, so it's just kind of like, you never know when your break or the opportunity is going to come. So just continue doing the work. I had been doing the work for so long. So all the stuff that I had done in, high school prior to college, and then before there was sort of any of these big moments, I was still working. I was writing every single day. I was working, I was doing all these sessions and then it just sort of like grew, and I think my voice and my style really sort of came through.
Yeah.
And that is something that you can't pay for. It just has to sort of exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about your style. How would you describe it, both of you?
I don't know. I feel like it's just me. I don't know. I think people that know me are like, at least even when I started like the pink thing, because I'm very a person who like I hate putting labels on. I hate calling myself anything,
Yes.
even if it's like a good thing. I just don't like any kind of name.
He's the man with the secret sauce. You know what I mean? He has that extra secret sauce to add to whatever we do. I think when I heard his stuff for the first time, I was just blown away because I know music and I know production, and I was just like, oh, this man is talented. So,
Definitely.
having the opportunity to work with him has just been like such a pleasure,
Yeah,
man,
great.
because you're also talented.
As you both live or have lived in LA, is your music style the voice of a specific generation around here, a community, a neighborhood?
Wow, that's really interesting. I never thought of being the voice of a generation. I am a voice in this generation, in this time. We are voices in this time, and I think that is important, right? Like to speak about our truths and our reality, sometimes our community, sometimes the world that we live in. We're citizens of the world, really. And so I think that is something that I think about a lot. And so, when I think about our album now, Been Here Before, there's a song on there called What Happened to the Revolutionary, right? And so we're on there sort of really talking about some of the records are political, and some of them are emotional, and some of them are just like, we just want people to dance and like feel throughout. And I think that people will look at it or listen to it in the future and just sort of being able to like, all right, this came out, 2024,
Yeah.
and this is what they were talking about. But also, the hope is that it sort of stands the test of time.
Yeah, because when I look at the scene in LA, there is something about that crew, that generation, that moment in LA, and
You have to tell me I wrote a song about it. It's, like, maybe I should move to LA, like,
Oh, that's true.
I
Yeah.
literally wrote a song about it because
Yeah.
I had a gig out here and it was just amazing, just energy wise. Just, it's like, actually, it's where I met Cor.Ece, right?
Yeah.
Dave and I performed back outside. So it was just the energy and like love I got from like that night and just like hanging out another couple nights. I was like, I'm so East Coast, like it's crazy. Like I've been on the East Coast most of my life. I actually lived out here when I was a kid for a very brief time, like less than a year. I don't remember it. I was like 1 year old. But I don't know, it's like I feel like guys like Cor.Ece and Life and Dave, like at least in my head, my interpretation of what LA sounds like or should sound like from my East Coast
Yeah.
status. I'm like, these guys do all the dope LA thing and they're all cool and all friends. Like this is like a little vibe they got out here. So I'm like, how can I like join in a little bit, Like that's how I feel, at least coming from Brooklyn. Like that's the vibe, the stuff that they make is the vibe that I want to be on when I come out here.
I think, yeah, I'm with that. I also feel like, LA is a vibe. Like it's vibey. Like there's definitely specific energy that you get here. But I also think that we're transplants.
Mhm.
So, we bring an interpretation of that vibe and of that sound
Sure.
being from other places, whether it be, just to name a few in our crew, Dave Giles, Life on Planets. Well, I was going to say Gavin Turk is on the album, but she's from LA actually. And, I think it's just about like bringing all those different parts of us, me being from St. Louis, that's why I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, which is a very sort of like jazz, blues, bluegrass, soul orientation for me. And so all of that stuff is in there for sure.
Okay, going back to your debut album as a duo, what's the idea behind the project and the title? Been here before.
Initially, I think it was Dave's idea for us to like all three of us do something. I think that was the original idea, if I remember right. And then, and then it just ended up like Cor.Ece and I doing it. So, as far as the title,
I like to describe it as kind of like earned wisdom, right? When you've been somewhere before. And so what does that sound like? And so bringing that idea of like been somewhere before, and then you're going to learn something from that. And then you're going to feel something from that. And so that's kind of where that came from. So I think each track reflects an experience of something that we've gone through or been to, or maybe people that we know, or ideas that we have, or feelings that we've had, and, been there before, and just sort of recognizing the time of it all, right?
Yeah.
We're in the present, but this is what happens, and this is what happened, and this is
what
kind of
makes
what it sounds
who you are today.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dancing and sexy tracks on this album. However, can you tell me about the meaning behind the song "What Happened to the Revolutionary"? Because I really like, dig that track, and I wanted to know what's going on right here.
We live in such a time right now. It's confusing, right? There's just more issues and wars happening all over the world, and we're all impacted by it. And the truth of a truthful leader or leaders who really believe in the people in a revolutionary way is lacking.
Yeah.
And so it was sort of reflecting on the now, but also my experiences as an activist in the Black Lives Matter movement, really, to be honest, and thinking about like all of the wonderful work that they did, but also how difficult it is to really be a revolutionary. You can go in there with the intentions and the right idea, but there's so many things stacked against you, whether it be the actual government, whether it be the police, or whether it be your own self and the information, right?
Yeah.
And so the song kind of reflects on that.
As you just released this album, are you planning any live performance?
Yes.
it's a little tricky being on
Opposite ends.
It's a little tricky, but yeah, we were even talking about it earlier.
So yeah, I'm going on tour this summer.
Yeah.
With Gavin Turk, and who's also on the album.
Yeah.
And so we're hitting a few places. So we'll be in London on July 5th at Colours, and then Paris July 6th at Le Pop-Up.
Okay.
Okay, all right. And then Amsterdam on July 18th, and Paradiso.
Yeah.
Okay, all
Amazing
right.
venue.
I'm
Amazing
getting thumbs
venue.
up. People know it.
Yeah.
And then there's a private venue which you can buy tickets on our Instagram in Berlin on July 27th. There'll be others, and the other one that I can say right now is I'll be performing at Defected, Croatia, August 4th.
Can't wait to see you on stage. It was a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.